honored position.
It is.
Okay, we're in a 10-second delay here in the live thing.
Checkmate King 2. This is White Work over.
We got you, White Rick.
You hear
Over
your
and out.
here, brother.
Checkmate King 2.
Oh, I
Oh,
think
I heard something.
we're probably live.
Was that
I
me?
gotta get muted
have
though.
anything running. I don't have any YouTube stuff running.
I gotta get it muted. Okay,
Who
we're
was?
muted. And okay, 3, 2, 1, go. Welcome into Drone Nation for July 18th, 2022. We're calling this the Fimi show tonight. And you'll understand in a few minutes, we have a famous YouTuber coming on that has the new Fimi X8 SE 2022 V2 plus the new TX
No,
100 smart controller. But he will be coming in a few minutes here. But joining us right away is a special guest host for tonight. We'll call it the return of Al Duran. We can't do a Fimi show without Al Duran, the man who had, I think, the original Fimi fall out of the sky on him, and he was able to repair it and get it back up in the air again. So, he's kind of our, one of our Fimi experts on the panel.
Well, you know what we call him, Ron? We call him if you want to go back and look at that video, you're going to call Al Duran the miracle worker.
Right, the miracle worker.
Yeah.
Forget about the girl from the movie or whatever. Al's the real miracle worker.
Yeah.
So
Well,
we got a big show. We got a big show tonight. We got a lot of topics. So we'll try to move along briskly here through the topics. But we want to go around the table here and catch up with what everybody's been doing this week, and then we'll let you kind of guess who the super secret special guest is in a few minutes here. We'll go with Marcus first. Marcus, what have you been up to?
Okay, so I guess I better get out do some show and tell here.
Oh, you get your props out?
Do that. Look what finally showed up.
That looks like an Exo drone.
Yeah, the EXO.
Look at that.
Yeah, and I've flown it already, and we'll get that video published soon. And you know what? It is virtually identical to the Hubsan Ace Pro. I can put them side by side if you want, but they really are, other than color. And this has got the really cool gold leaf on there on the side that makes it look fancy. And then look at that fancy insignia that they embossed in the top of it. I mean, that's worth a few $100.
So you like the look of this drone better, the XO?
Yeah, I mean it's okay. Oh, you know what? I just noticed something. If you look right there, it says EXO and Hubsan right below it. So
okay.
Yeah, so nobody's trying to.
That's a $60 stamp right there.
Yeah. The other thing is that I discovered when I flew this guy, you can record to an SD card or the internal memory, but the only way you can record at 200 megabits is to the internal memory. If you're recording to the SD card, it will default back to 100 megabits, which is okay. I got to be honest with you, guys, I can never even tell. I've recorded to both. I can't tell the difference in quality. But you know what? It's a decent flying drone. I was telling Ron earlier today that I did while reviewing the video. I had to look really close. But in a couple of spots, I saw some micro shakes, a little bit of micro shakes in the video. But, I'm looking at it on a 32-inch monitor, and I was looking for it. So, I mean, I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal. But, yeah, I'd say a pretty good effort. And then yesterday I did that update, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I did that update 01.00.0100 to the DJI RC. And speaking of miracle workers, it's a miracle. It cured all the problems that I'd been having with the RC. So I'm sure that's a topic coming up. Who's next, Ron?
Well, we'll go to DeMarco, and then we'll end with our special guest host, and I'll let our special guest host present the super secret mystery guest tonight too. So, DeMarco, what's been going on with you out there in Arkansas? How's the weather out there, buddy?
It is hot as you know what.
Oh boy.
Yes, it's 98 today. It's supposed to be in the hundreds the rest of the week. I flew Saturday night, and it was in the 90s, and I was so fearful that I was out pretty far. I was so fearful that like I would get that overheating warning, you know, like when I'm out a couple 100 feet. But I've been flying. No, in fact, I've shown and tell here. I actually got some new sticks here.
They look like off of FPV thing there.
Yeah, sort of. It's a nice one. And I ordered a screen protector for here.
Yes.
And Johnny talked me into this silicone condom here.
Johnny loves that thing.
You know,
Johnny
XL. So,
now are those sticks extended sticks from the?
No,
okay.
no, just the regular ones. They actually fit in here actually too. So.
Good.
So DeMarco, that silicone cover, is that for water protection, or what is the point of that?
I would say more it's for shock. I mean, so if you dropped it, you know, it's a nice little holder there though. I mean, it feels good in the hand though, and like I said before, I got the XL version. Johnny got the small version. But,
yeah, there you go. Lots of good jokes there, but we're going to leave it alone.
Well,
it's nice though. I think I paid.
You're going to get a lot of good jokes out of it.
I got this on Prime Day, so it was $15 or $12, and I got like $3 off too. So yeah, nice. I like it. Thank you, Johnny. And this is from Star Tech.
Start RC.
Yeah.
So this show is sponsored by Start RC tonight.
Yes.
Hey,
that's
speaking
right.
of them and what I don't think I have it here handy. Yeah, hold it. Right. What did I do with it? I can't find it. But what I'm talking about is that propeller strap that Start RC has that Johnny featured on his channel.
I saw that too.
I bought one because it's handy for when you're shoving the thing down in the case and you don't want to get the propellers caught. But I quit using it, and I'll tell you why. It is really tight around those propellers, and I was worried about deforming the props.
Like on your Mini 1?
Like on the Mini 1, because, I mean, it's tight. It's not like the props are just being held loosely in there. I mean, it's holding them down. So
well,
anyway, just out of an abundance of caution, I quit using it.
Yeah,
I say this. I do not have a holder like that, and I actually cracked a
prop
propeller. I did.
Yeah. The good thing about DJI though is that it'll give you the warnings if your ESCs are getting too hot instead of just falling out of the sky like the Hudson product line or the Fimi. You know, so you'll get ESC errors, and as soon as you see your ESC errors, I mean, land that puppy because it's going to come down.
Yeah, you'll get an inadvertent landing an uncommanded descent is what you'll get.
Well,
hey, Al,
I'll tell you the trick though. Just keep moving it forward as you're descending. Don't just try to descend because the EFCs work harder trying to descend. Okay.
Yeah.
It's the hardest thing to do. So it's because it's a controlled fall, right? But if you descend as you're moving forward, it's a lot easier on everything. So that's what I would do.
So Al, you know, on that same subject, you know, and DeMarco was talking about flying his in the heat. I flew in 34-degree or 100 Fahrenheit weather yesterday, and listen, I even did an update with the drone on and everything, and had it sitting there. Then I flew around. I have never, ever, with the Mini 3, had one of those overheat warnings. And
I had one.
Me either.
And it was a hot flipping day.
No, let me say this. When I had mine, it was not hot like it is now, but I was flying in sport mode. And I would say it was in the lower 90s that day. Yeah, I mean, it had to be. So,
yeah.
Hey, well, listen, fellas, we got to get the super secret guest on here because the shrimp's running low back in the green room. Now, Al, as the special guest host, I need you to present the mystery guest, but you need to give the people a hint so they can guess who it is before you announce them.
Okay. Well, good. Well, can I talk about something that I got going on first and then bring Bill in?
Exactly. That's your agenda.
Oh, well, now we know. We don't need the clue now.
Okay.
Before you start talking, why don't you give the crowd a hint on who the guy is, and then they can think about it while you're presenting.
Okay. Well, here's what I got, guys. I just got a new build coming up. Motors. I had a bunch of props. And then we got a super secret Fimi 2022 guest coming on. Can you guess who it is? Mr. Bill Drone Reviewer. He's going to be joining us. And we're going to be talking about what, guys? That RC, right? In the 2022 and the new update. And did it fix the horizon or not? I don't know.
We'll find out.
Yeah.
Bill,
All the way from the sunny South Florida.
Sunny, hot, humid, and yeah, all the above. It's just like
Mr.
about
Bill.
everybody else in the whole entire country. It has been tremendous. I got to say this off the bat, okay? This thing, it's phenomenal, okay? The controller, it is absolutely phenomenal. It does so much, and it does it well. It does everything well, okay? I can really find no fault with the controller itself, okay? And my video is out right now. I just put it out there, so you guys pay, after the show's over, go out there and watch it.
Don't leave now.
Don't leave now.
And after you watch Bill's video, watch the video I posted.
Yes, and then watch Marcus's video, okay? It's very similar. One of the things I can say, I want to show you right away. On the back of this, right here, I don't know if you could see this right here.
Enlarge, Bill.
You can actually attach another battery to it. Now, I asked Fimi, and they said they're going to get back to me on that. But right here, right here, you can attach. You can see there's two points of entry right here. You can attach another battery to this. All right.
Nice, and those are the two leads right there, positive and negative. That's sweet. So your life. How many hours can you fly with that thing?
They say 2.5 hours for this. Okay.
Oh wow.
But I was out there for a good half hour, 45 minutes, and was at 85%. Okay.
Now, how many batteries do you have? Because I know I have like 6 batteries for the.
I only have 1 battery for the Fimi. I'm ordering another one as we speak this week, but it's not a Fimi battery that's going to work on there because I tried the battery.
Well, no, I'm thinking, Bill, because if you have 6 batteries, then that controller can fly to 6 batteries without worrying about running out of batteries with you.
Right now, Fimi's going to get back to me on which battery can be used on this. They said we'll get back to you on this as far as that's concerned. It has a basic Android operating system. Let me go ahead and see if I can bring the screen up. Okay, so it's not glaring. All right. Now you'll see up in there it says no SIM card. And what's interesting about that is one of the slots at the top, and I'm going to go ahead and move the antennas and remove the flap here. Now, one of these slots right here, okay, not this one, but that one right over there. That's for a SIM card, okay.
Oh.
And you put a SIM card in here, you have a fully functioning phone. All right.
Oh.
It has everything on here to be able to dial and make phone calls.
So I take it that's unlocked, so it'll be able to lock into any of the systems, AT&T, Verizon.
Right, it's unlocked. It'll do anything. But what's real interesting, and I'm sorry because of the resolution, it's not coming up. At first, our friend Ali Shah, he had this and he did a review on it, and I asked him, I said, what about the screen recorder? And he said, you'll have to download one. All right, but you can't see it right down here. All the way on the bottom, you'll see there's an orange icon down there, and you could probably see it here a little bit. I'm trying to, because of the glare, it's just really difficult. And there's Chinese symbols next to it, but it looked real familiar because I have an Android phone, and it was, sure enough, it was the same AZ screen recorder that you can download on the Google Play Store. Now, what was interesting was Fimi does provide you a browser on here. I was able to log on to Facebook. I was able to log on to, I think, Twitter on here, and then they have their own version of their browser, and it's not very good, I can tell you that. Because I tried to go to the Google Play Store and I wanted to download like a screen recorder, like AZ screen recorder, but I had to log on to my Google account. Well, it wouldn't let me log on to my Google account. So I'm like, man, I got to get this screen recorder going. And then I said, you know what? That looks really familiar, what I have down here at the bottom. So I hit on that, and then boom, it opened up and it recorded perfectly. Now down here in the corner is a microphone. This was taken off the DJI RC Pro and DJI RC. And one thing that you need to do is you need to remember you kind of need to be like this when you're doing it to pick it up, because I went there like this and you could barely hear it. But if you're up here like this, you can hear it.
Can you plug an external microphone into it, Bill?
Yes, there is a jack on here.
That was my next question. What is your I/O coming out of there? Do you have
right here? Is another is a
okay, HDMI.
Right there, there's HDMI, and then there's your USB-C right here, and then SD card.
The HDMI and show us what you're looking at.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. So you can.
If you wanted to show a tell, you could do that, Bill. That'd be cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is it follows the same pattern as and I'm going by the first smart controller with DJI. When you take off, you have to have the antennas in this up position like this. But then as you're flying away, you move the antennas like this. Okay.
What?
Like you're holding that. That's and it's very clearly spelled out in the manual that's how you need to do that. There's 3 modes on here. There's you can also, and I can't really bring it down, but it does have all the typical Android stuff. It has, I think, Android 9.0 on here, and it has 3 modes. It has Cine, Normal, and Sport, just like DJI's.
I like that the button's in orange.
All right.
Yeah, it's in orange. It's very easy to spot. Now, there are, you can see right here, there's a scroll wheel right here, and this is for the gimbal. This is actually a function switch right here. It's a 3-position function switch.
Nice.
And over here's another. This is for the shutter. This is what's hooked up to the shutter. There's another scroll wheel, and then this is just a one toggle kind of switch right here as well.
Is controller in your EV value or your shutter as usual. Remember how in the regular controller you right finger roller.
Now this one Al, it's kind of like a rocker switch right here. So you can take you could use the camera on it, and then or you can use to take stills, or you can use it to shoot video. It gives you that option on here. So
does the Wi-Fi to your network if you don't have a SIM card to be able to download?
Yes. Like it's hooked up to my Wi-Fi network right now because I already got it hooked up.
So if you have no SIM card, you're going to need a Wi-Fi.
You're going to need a Wi-Fi connection to go ahead and download updates.
Download any app you want anywhere in the world. If you have
what's the build quality like, Bill, compared to your old smart controller?
DeMarco, that's really a good question. It is on par in terms of the weight and build quality of the DJI RC Pro and the DJI Smart Controller. It does way more than the DJI RC for sure. It feels substantial in your hands. There is only one slot at the bottom down here for, they said you can mount it on a tripod, but I imagine if you got creative, you could probably get like some type of eyelet and then maybe fashion some type of strap to hook it around your neck to get that up on there.
Okay. So tell me, what is the nits on it again?
It's 1,000 nits.
Oh,
and you can see on the video, I tried to show it, but there's a lot of glare. But I can tell you, out in the Florida sun, this did really well. I mean, I could see without like having to go to my car or had my hand over it. I could see it very clearly. I had no problems whatsoever with that, and that really impressed me. And I mean, it's just for the price on it right now, Banggood has it for $299. And for $300 for this, you're getting an awful lot of technology with this. Okay, I think Fimi really did a great job. And in my video, and I'll tell you right now, I found no fault with the controller itself at all. None.
Can you fly a DJI drone with it, Bill? That's what I want to know.
No.
And the only drone, unfortunately, that will work with this is the 2022 V2. Okay.
Not the Fimi Mini.
No, it won't work with the Fimi Mini, and don't think it's going to work with. It may work with the original 2022 version, but anything previous to that, it's not going to work.
Hey, Bill, what are those dials on the top there above the the speed spot?
Oh, okay, right here. Yeah. They say it's audio aux. Let's see. I want to get this right. aux1 and aux2, and I tried messing with it a little bit, and I think they're kind of like to be determined, because I expected like the speaker volume to increase on it, and it didn't. It didn't increase the speaker volume on here, so that's kind of like TBD kind of a thing. I'm not real sure, but I can tell you that I like the sticks better here than on the controller that they give you with the Fimi X8 SE 2022. They seem they're more. I think they're a little more responsive, and it's true. Like when you push the stick ahead like this, you're going straight. Okay, you're not going to deviate to the right or the left. Like I've had that problem with the original controller with the Fimi, not with this, not at all. And you know what? I'll probably never use that other controller again. I mean, I'm so thoroughly sold on this. Now, one thing I want to tell everybody is, when you have to have, you do file manipulation like you do on a DJI RC Pro or on the DJI RC. Well, on the DJI RC Pro, you'd have to do file manipulation, move your screen recording over to your SD card so you can go ahead and download it onto your PC. It's the same here. But one of the things that you need to remember with this is when you put it in, it's going to ask you to format that card. And before it asks you to format it, it's going to ask you, do you want it to use it as phone storage or transfer storage? And you want to select transfer storage, because if you use it as phone storage, it's not going to recognize it at all. You're not going to have anywhere to move your images. So basically it's stuck. Now I did hook up and I tried to my PC. I ran a cable over to this, and it doesn't do anything. Okay. It doesn't recognize it as a device. I can't download anything from it. I thought maybe for some reason it might, but it doesn't.
It doesn't have Bluetooth transfer either.
What's that, Ron?
Like the RC Pro could transfer via Bluetooth. This doesn't have that.
There's I did not see anything like that. I did get an enhanced manual that I'm going to drop a link for from Fimi today. But I didn't see anything in there mentioning about being able to do that.
That's good, because I think Grill Man was trying to find the manual, so that's good that you'll
yeah. Well, I'll get that out there so everybody can get it. They tell me that a more detailed manual than what they sent me is coming out, so I'm anxious to see that. I gotta say this. All in all, I'm extremely impressed with this, with the build quality of this, with the responsiveness of it. It only took about 2 hours to get, I would say maybe about 3 to charge this, and it was fully charged. Of course, it comes with no cable and no adapter, so you got to use your own for that. So I use my DJI adapter.
We won't tell anybody.
We won't tell Frank about that. So.
Hey, do you think that will help with signal and range issues for the Fimi X8, or you don't think it'll make any difference?
It was stellar. And this was interesting on the flight video. You can see I fly over a building that's right by it's like a produce warehouse over there. And when I flew the Mini over there, I was getting signal issues because of some possible interference. But I flew the Fimi over that on purpose in my video. I had no problems with that. And then when I flew over to the highway, which is about 2,000 feet away, I had no problems whatsoever. And in fact, I didn't even have the antennas on the flight out in the right position, and it still had no errors whatsoever on that. It was very good. However, on this flight, and you'll see, I did have some horizon tilt, which unbelievably corrected itself as I turned around. Not on my return to home, but as I went from one, when I stopped and I turned around manually, it went, it took care of itself. And also, again, when I stopped and then when I went again, you could see gradually it takes care of it. Now, what was real interesting was after I got off, after I was done with my flight, I noticed there was a firmware update available, and it had a camera update as well for this, and it said a controller update, so which was real interesting. So we'll see. I'm going to go.
Bill, Sean Oz has a question in chat. How much is this drone?
Is the drone by itself? Now, I got mine on Amazon for $549, but you can get it a lot. You can probably get it about
I think it's $519 last time I looked.
Yeah, you can get it.
Yeah, you can get it for under $500 with some coupons if you are affiliate member too.
On AliExpress and on Banggood. But the deal with that is, and the reason I bought this off of Amazon is you have the option to be able to return it very
Right.
easily. Now, one of the things that I want to show you on the bottom of the Fimi here, this is the loudspeaker module, and then right here, there's a little actuator that comes up. You can't see because it's in the down position right now, and that's the hook and release mechanism right there.
Okay.
You can see there's this fits into the slot like this on the drone. Okay.
So, Bill, have you noticed that the compatibility, open source Mavic? So, with that port accessibility there, you can. Hey, Ron, I'm sharing my screen with you, and I wanted to show you the Mavic compatibility.
There we go.
A couple of things that you can do with Mavic, open source. So, if you're into Linux, open source coding, you're going to be able to code this thing with that little module. Okay, so if you're a programmer, this is going to be something that you're really into. So this is going to be really a flexible platform for you to be able to play with if you're into tinkering. So I'm getting a lot of looks there, like Mark is going, I ain't going to do that.
Ain't going to happen.
I would, because I'm a tinkerer, right? And I used to program. But you can see the Mavic, you can control servos, any kind of payloads. You got cameras and got speakers, and as Bill was just pointing out. So with this Mavic interface here, you see here that you're going to be PX4, APM, and audio pilot. So and iNav. So I mean, it's really if you.
Now, this is much more open source than what we see from people like DJI or Autel.
Absolutely, and that's the whole point here is that this platform will allow you to be able to grow in any direction you want to grow your business into. If you're that type of kind of business, you want to do it, right? I'm not sure the Fimi 2022 platform is good enough to do that, but the point is that you could do development to be able to handle that open source and play around with all the little crap that we love to play with, right? If you want to really go into a deep dive of stuff, this is pretty cool. And it didn't even show the SIM card in here. I don't know why, but I mean the specs that they're showing here are pretty stellar. Because it's got the 4G cellular module built in, and that's where the SIM card comes in, right? So you could either run it a 2.4 or 5.8 dual band, and it's unlocked, so it doesn't really matter what SIM card you're going to throw in there, AT&T, Verizon, or True Mobile, or whatever. You have your hand up.
Lon brings up a really good point. He's essentially saying that you could buy the Mini 3 Pro with a smart controller for $909. That is essentially the same price as this is. This one would come in a little bit cheaper. Yeah. But I'm just saying, just for people's reference to know, and it depends on what you're looking for in video quality, etc.
And what do you want to tinker with, right? So the Mini 3, you're not going to be able to get any of those options that we're seeing here. So you're not going to get that flexibility to program whatever you want in that module. You want to create a rocket launcher system on this thing? Here you go. Okay. So, right. Now you see where I'm headed, Idaho quadcopter, right? Marcus, you see where I'm going? This platform could be used in different ways. And I'm just giving you an example where how I'm thinking. If I'm thinking this, everybody else is thinking it. If I'm thinking, those people are thinking about weaponizing this thing. So that's the whole point.
Not liking where this conversation is going.
I'm not saying I'm going to do it, but I'm saying the flexibility to do that is here to be able to do whatever you want with it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what's.
So this is kind of a first then, Al, in this type of thing with a smart control with this type of open source capabilities.
Yes, because now you're pumping all that information through your RC, because now that protocol is, controlling whatever at the other end of the device that is hooked up to that little interface port that that Bill was showing. He has
his module,
on it, right?
So you're expecting more modules to come out in the future, Al.
Well, not only that, you could 3D print the whole freaking thing and create your own little outputs to it. So I'm already looking at my 3D printer going,
possibilities.
Right.
So
Hey, Bill, they're talking about pricing it out and this being about the same price as the Main 3 Pro. But this controller, just by the specs a little bit and what Al's talking about the open source, is this controller, would you prefer this controller over the DJI RC, which we know is very limited in its capabilities?
That's the thing about DJI. They tend to lock you out. They don't want to play with anybody, right? So they're the spoiled kid, kind of like Microsoft is and Apple is, right? They're locked. They lock the platform down. So the only ones who play with Apple devices. Apple only ones who play with Apple devices. And this is kind of like the Android operating system, right? Where it's open source. So it all depends what flavor you want, because DJI is like Apple. It works, right? Yeah. And we go to Android because it gives you the flexibility to be able to throw extra SD cards in there, and you don't run it out of disk space. If you run out of, your disk space, you just throw another SD card in there, and you continue on. Now, so it's the matter of preference, If you're a tinkerer, this might be the way to go because it gives you that open source. Where now we're finally seeing a little bit of that occurring with DJI, with some of the apps being released that will work if you load your own kernel in it. So but DJI is hard to really, hack in a sense.
So this controller and the drone would be a competitor to what, the Air 2 or the Air 2S?
Yeah, the camera. Yeah, the camera is not. It doesn't hold up to the DJI cameras, but it flies as pretty well.
Well, one of the things that I want to say, and I want to make clear, and I've seen some comments in the chat, and I want to address this right away. Okay, I'm a fan of all drones. All right. And, I saw people saying, no, I'm going to go, get a cup of coffee and come back because the Fimi talk. But you need to understand something here, okay? If you're one-dimensional in your thinking in terms of the drones that you use and you have the ability to purchase drones, okay, you need to expand your horizons. And the person who really taught me that, and I'm going to say is Ken, Original Dobo, he told me, he said, explore something outside of DJI, Bill. He knew I had Autel, but he said, explore something else. See how that works. It makes you, number one, it makes you appreciate DJI. And number two, you might find something that's going to work, 3/4 of the way that DJI works. And it may be a more affordable option for a lot of people. And I think that's what a lot of people are forgetting in the chat here. Okay. This is, if you price it right on AliExpress, you can get it for under $500. All right, you can't say that about a lot of other drones. Okay, and for what you get, all right, and I'm going to say this for what you get for this. Okay, this is a decent drone, and in a lot of third world countries, okay, over in Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, Southeast Asia, okay, this is all they can afford. All right, because the Fimi group that I run, there's almost 10,000 people in it. Most of them are from that area, and they love this drone. They absolutely love this drone. Horizon tilt aside, okay? It does shoot 4K 30, okay? And the video that comes out of it, is it as good as a DJI drone? No, but I'll tell you what, it's pretty doggone good. And for the price, for what you get, it's a great drone.
So Bill, I mean, absolutely no disrespect, but I have owned every Fimi drone since the Fimi Me 4K. I've bought every one of them. This is the very first one that I declined to purchase, this 2022 version. because I just honestly I didn't see any advantage over the previous versions of the X8 SE. And I get your point. I totally agree that if you're, you know, if you don't have the money to buy DJI, or you're in, you know, a third world country, that may be one thing. And I think there's better availability there and so forth. However, I got to tell you, I am absolutely not interested in programming my own remote control, or being able to fire rockets with my drone, or whatever. I'm more interested in the camera and the video, and how the drone flies. So, I mean, that's the only point. I mean, Fimi has built a reputation of products that just don't quite measure up, and I think that's what we're seeing in the chat right now.
Okay, well, I want to be clear, because apparently I'm ticking some people off in the chat, and I'm saying this. Okay,
I don't think so, Bill. I don't think so
either.
No.
All right. You know, I want to be real clear here. You know that my primary drones are DJI drones. Okay, don't get me wrong here. why I'm doing this is, okay, the thing that intrigued me about the 2022 V2. Okay, two things. Okay, it was this option that had, Fimi is having a module option on this. That intrigued me, number one. And number two, I knew it was going to work with this new controller. Okay, so I dove headlong into it, because and I've had a Fimi before, and I know what to expect. Okay, I did have some horizon tilt with that. I'm going to see if I can get it corrected next time around. Which for me, it was negligible. I think, again, this is something that people need to explore. If you cannot afford a DJI drone, this is an excellent alternative.
But hold on, Marcus. I was going
to.
Sean, I did not use you as an example. Okay, please don't say that.
No, I was going to say, with that. One thing about that with the Fimi is, only people who know about that drone are drone guys like us. I mean, they don't. How many people are going to AliExpress looking for a drone?
That's a great point.
That's what I mean by that. I mean, and that's not just that one. That's from the start back in 2018. I mean, no one knew about that. Meaning this, like, what's their point then? I mean, so if they aren't going to advertise and really push that drone and get it in Best Buy, I mean, like, what's the point of them selling it then? Because, like, they're not going to sell thousands of them here anyway.
They do in Europe. They do in Europe, man.
But here.
Oh, here, yeah. I mean, I like the Fimi and the Xeno product lines for a lot of reasons, and Autel product line for a lot of reasons over DJI, and that is, that gives you the flexibility to go anywhere and fly anywhere. Right? It's up to you to decide to be safe, and it's not up to a database to decide to be safe. Okay, so that, I know, Marcus, you're going to jump in here, but that, it's just like somebody decides that you can't drive your car somewhere, right? Because the database says you can't drive there. But you should be able to drive responsibly in the locations you're flying at.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't think anybody can accuse me of not flying other brands of drones. However, what I want to make clear is, I think in the chat here, I think we're seeing a lot of people having a lot of fun, and there were some jokes there, and I don't think it was meant at anybody's expense or anything. So I mean, let's just leave it
every time we bring up the Fimi, it's always a hot topic in the chat, because so many people in our community have bought either the Fimi 2008 or the 2020, and they've been haunted by issues that were never fixed. Number one being the horizon issue. So it's kind of a stigma about Fimi out there, and it's tough to start a conversation. And I think Michael Toto made a good point last week. Fimi should redesign the body somewhat of the X8, so people aren't thinking they're getting the same drone they bought 4 years ago. They need a little redesign to get that kind of stigma off of people's minds here. And again, I know nobody. I don't think anybody in the show here said it's it's a better buy for most people than a DJI drone.
Yeah. Hey, the other thing is that I want to point out, Bill, is you did a fantastic job of introducing that RC to us.
Yeah, you went over that really well, Bill.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
never would have seen it. And you showed us every single detail. I, for one, appreciate it.
I wanted to answer a question. Sam Rose, is there manual gimbal adjustments? It does have a gimbal calibration that you can do before your flight, and it will allow you to tinker a little bit with the gimbal. I've done that before. I had a gentleman, and I'm going to show you something here. More show and tell tonight, okay? I bought this for one reason, okay? I want to get a specific short one, and you know what it is, okay? It's for the horizon, okay? And this is what I used it for on my desk. I made sure that my desk was level, okay, before I did it. And then I lined it up because you can use this. There's a gentleman over in the UK that showed you how to do it, and this was back on the 2018 version, but it works for all of them, all right? So, Sam, there's gimbal calibration, and then there's a manual adjustment that you can do in the menu to do that. So I couldn't explain this in an answer directly in the chat. So I wanted to let you know this is how you can do it. There is an option to be able to do that.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward to do that too, Bill. I mean, once you get into that, go into the gimbal and then go into advanced settings, and then you, first of all, you got to make sure you have a table that is actually level before you start. And once you have a level table, then you can go ahead and calibrate your gimbal. And it's pretty straightforward. The good thing about it is it does remember your settings, unlike how when you switch from camera to video, sometimes it forgets your settings, your manual settings that you set in your video. And you're like, oh my God, I had it at 400. I set 400 and I was running 120 frames per second. Why did you switch back? When I went to photo and I come back. So those are the kind of things that really bugged me about that interface. The Hubsan product line is also the same way. But I really like my little Fimi Mini. I know Marcus has hated his.
Don't say that at all. I don't hate mine a bit. I've had a lot of fun with it.
How many years you had?
It took me 4 of them to get a good one.
That's right. I actually bought 2 to give 1 away, and I still have that 1 to give away because I'm waiting to reach 5,000 subscribers to give away the Fimi Mini. Okay, and that's why I bought 2. I was expecting to reach 5,000 a little quicker than I have, but that's a different story. And I really do like this camera, believe it or not.
So let's see. So it doesn't work with the Fimi Mini, right? You said, Bill?
No, it does not work with a Fimi Mini.
It's
for them to put that R&D, they have to be coming out with some more drones that it will work with in the future. That's what I'm guessing.
Right. I think going forward, I think it will be compatible with future drones that Fimi comes out with. I think that's smart because there's some things on here, some of these additional, like these toggle switches right here, that don't really, you can assign a function to them, but you pretty much have the buttons right here that can do those functions and already. So it's like, okay, what are you trying to do here? Fimi? And really, it's telling you that there's things that are going to be coming in the future.
Wait, isn't this the one that actually comes with that drop kit?
Yeah, this is the drop kit right here.
That's what that function button. On the right.
This right here, DeMarco. There's a little black post that comes up and down. There's an actuator on it, and when you toggle it in the app, it opens it up, and when you toggle it again, it will close it. Now, this is a loudspeaker, and I talked to several people who've actually tested this, and it's another video I have coming up later this week. It'll work at about 100 feet, either 100 feet up in the air or 100 feet away from you, but any more than that, you're not going to hear it.
So you can do a little search and rescue with that, Bill.
You could do a little bit, but you got to be really close.
Hey, Bill, real quick, Sam has a question for you to chat, and I'll help you out with it. He says the 2022, he means Fimi, has the same camera as the Air 2, right? The half-edge Sony. And I'll help you out, Bill. I believe it does. It has the same quad flare half-edge, at least spec-wise, as the Air 2 did.
Yeah, Ron's right. Yes, and
But this has a wider aperture on the lens, so there's a lot more light in than the.
Yeah, and that's the problem with the Fimi product line. They use bad glass. They use, the glass that they use on the lenses are not the best quality lenses.
When you take off, you get the fog. They fog up.
Well, that was the original A2. Remember that one?
The A3, yeah, the A3.
Yeah. Sorry about that. I remember watching your videos. I was like, oh my gosh, you sent that thing back. Did you send it back and they give you another one?
Yeah, I got in a big row over with Banggood over that. They wanted me to take the lens apart and do this and do that. And I said, no. You're thinking of Al Duran.
No,
just do that.
This Marcus. Yeah, no, I remember that. Yeah, and that's the thing about Fimi. They cut corners on the lens.
Yeah.
And it's not a Hasselblad lens for sure.
Now it's funny. The old tell people say that DJI cuts corners on their lenses.
Hey,
yeah, I know, right?
Bill, I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
Ron?
So when you're using that loudspeaker, you showed us the mic on that controller, but if you were using the standard controller, how do you talk to the loudspeaker?
I think it's I haven't done it yet, but I think it's a pre-recorded thing like it is for DJI. You pre-record it and it's on your SD card and it gets to it. I don't think it's directly from here because the normal controller doesn't have a microphone built into it. So yeah, that makes sense. One of the things I did find that was really cool though, I took the first flight with my smartphone. It will fit my Galaxy Z Fold 3, okay, on the regular controller, which is really nice because, as you know, there's a lot of real estate on that phone, and it's a very big screen. And that's one thing I do like, okay, about that. That worked out really well.
So the protocol they're using is only going to be able to work on the 2022 V2 version, right? And whatever they decide to use that protocol on if they decide to use, what I'm trying to say is hopefully they'll put out new drones using the same protocol, right? Let's say they come out with the new Fimi Mini 2 as an example. Hopefully they'll do that, and that way it'll unify it. Kind of like, DJI is going with OcuSync 3 Plus, and there's only 2 drones that are running OcuSync 3 Plus today that I know of, right? That is the Mavic 3 and a Mini 3. That's the only ones that I know of that is running OcuSync 3 Plus. So I'm thinking that's what they're headed, Bill. I think that the next release of the Fimi Mini will probably be running that proprietary protocol that they're I don't know, they call it V2. I don't know what they call it, to be honest with you. I was trying to find some information on the protocol. I don't see any at all. Anybody in the chat know the protocol?
I wanted to go ahead and say something outside of Fimi for a second, if I could.
We better jump off the Fimi and move to other stories.
Yeah,
so go ahead,
I went ahead and I got a video coming out this week of the Mavic 3 with the DJI RC, and I got to tell you this. I was very impressed with that, okay? I had no problem. And you know what I did on purpose? You know how Marcus said I went behind a building and all this? Well, I turned my back to the drone as I was flying it, and I did that on purpose, flying the Mavic 3 with the DJI RC. I had no signal problems whatsoever going both directions. But, sure enough, when I was and I have a Mini 3 video coming out. I did a lot of flying this weekend. When I was flying the Mini 3 down by the area where the building is down there, again, it came up. It said weak signal, so I got out of the area. But it's real funny, I'll head up to the highway, which is another 800 more feet past where I went before. I had no problem, no signal issues, nothing. So, but no, I was impressed with the Mavic 3 with the DJI RC. That really impressed me. I thought it did an excellent job.
Good for that. Thanks for that testing, Bill. Hey, Recovery Drone brings up something in story number I don't know, 5 in the chat here, in the show notes. He mentioned Unique. Remember Unique? They made a lot of drones about 5 years ago, and then we don't see much of them now. Well, they have announced a new H850 Enterprise drone with over 60 minutes of flight time, but it starts at a cool $7,735. So it's probably not a consumer drone at that price. Links are down below if you'd like to purchase it. DroneNation needs the money. But I'm glad Bill brought up the Mini 3 drone earlier. It was some big doings. I think it came out Friday or Saturday. DJI released new RC firmware, not aircraft firmware, but RC firmware, for the controller. And that combined with the most recent FlyApp update, which was 1.69, it has supposedly fixed a lot of the issues that people have been experiencing over the past several weeks, or almost from the beginning, including signal and range issues. Now, Marcus can speak to a little bit. He has already done a test flight, completely updated on everything, and he's one of the people that had a lot of issues like disconnections, app crashing, all that. So, Marcus, what was your experience running all the new firmware and app updates on the Mini 3 Pro?
Yeah, well, I'll just cut to the chase. It literally solved all the problems that I had been having with it. Now, I understand that other people are still having some problems, but I'm just speaking from my personal experience. So what the issue that I was having, and in fact, Bill, to your point, I had ordered an additional DJI RC to use with my Mavic 3, and when I started having all the problems with my Mini 3, I canceled that order. But they seem to have corrected it with this update. So anytime I would do anything like anything in the Focus Track suite or the intelligent flight modes, and in particular, when I tried to manually change the home point with the drone, either making the controller the home point or manually moving it on the map, it would lock up the FlyApp tighter than a drum. And in many cases, it would crash to a black screen. Now, you would never lose control of the drone. You always had control with the RC, but you'd lose the app. So you'd lose FPV, you'd lose everything. So it was a big problem. And I got a hold of DJI support on Twitter, as Bill recommends, and they were very upfront. They said, yep, we know it's a problem. We're working on a firmware solution. And sure enough, just not long afterward, this solution came out. I took it out yesterday. I did everything I could to try and lock up that app. I tried all the stuff that I was just talking about, and it was smooth, completely smooth as butter. No issues whatsoever. So I'm pleased.
Good to hear that, they're addressing some of the issues like that. Yeah. So what are the repercussions when the thing locks up like that? Do you turn it off and reboot it and hope that it returns home?
So sometimes it will automatically, it'll give you a dialog box that asks you if you want to reboot the app. But of course, if the screen's frozen, you can't do anything with the dialog box. So really all I ever did, Al, and I suppose you could turn off the controller, turn it back on. That's a good idea. But all I ever did was just fly the drone home or hit the return to home button, and here it comes back. So
okay. Yeah, so you're definitely blind at that point. You got nothing to work with. So,
Hey, Marcus, what does Barry mean here by the RC go out of the camera view?
So what he is saying is that it went back to that main screen, instead of the FPV view.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So what I think there, Barry, is make sure I would get your update your controller to that latest firmware, the 01.00.0100. It's the latest firmware in that thing, and you can check that by looking at the FlyApp, look in the About page, scroll down, and you'll see what firmware you have. And if it isn't that newest version, hit that button. There'll be a button there that says check for updates. Hit it, and if it finds it, it will then prompt you to update it.
And Marcus, we touched on this some other shows. I think we even talked about in Bill's show. one of the notes for this RC update is you use the memory card, use no less than a U3. Not in the drone. I mean, you should use a U3 in the drone also, but you need to use a U3 in the controller also. Is that correct?
Isn't that fascinating? Yeah, that's an interesting bit of information because we know that RC records a screen recording at a pretty low resolution. So just like what you're describing, Ron, I never thought I had to have a super high-speed card in there, so I put some cheap card in it. That could have very well been part of my problem. And I will say this, DJI told me that when I wrote to them, they said, hey, make sure you're using a U3 card. So
yeah, I'm the same way. I just throw any old card in those controls because I assume all they're doing is keeping screen recordings of whatever.
Well, remember also too what Lauren has said about reformatting your SD card.
Yes.
You know, not only in the drone, but I think it may be prudent advice. You know, because if you're like me, you're going to download everything that's off that SD card when you're done with your flight to your PC. So yeah, you can go ahead and reformat it. I think Lauren's advice is prudent not only for on the drone, but in the controller itself to reformat that, because that way, in case there's anything left over after a firmware update on that controller, it could be in there and causing some problems. So it'd be good. I think it'd be a good thing just to reformat that card, because you're going to be dumping that data to your PC anyway after the flight. And once you have your PC, you don't need it anymore in your card. So go ahead and reformat it.
Yeah, and to pile onto that, Bill, you probably would be wise to clear your cache.
Absolutely.
In your controller too before you do the firmware update. The same thing. Bits of random codes could still be hanging around as cache files.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's not good. Clear that out. Do that. Reformat that. That way you have no issues in clearing that cache again. Same thing.
So try that stuff, Barry. I hope that helps. Well, if nobody else has anything to say about the RC update, I want to. Bill Grace has asked us a question in the chat here, and this is kind of story number 7 tonight. When will the RC, the controller, and he means the DJI RC that came with the Mini 3, work with the Air 2S? Well, a couple big outlets last week, like DroneDJ and a couple big YouTube channels, made speculative videos about this, suggesting that this is coming sooner and later. I even think somebody threw a date around like the 28th or whatever on this. Bill, have you heard anything on this?
What I have heard, and Osidalev, I think, posted this, is they're no longer making the Air 2S with the original smart controller, because when they bundled it with a smart controller, they were bundling it with the original smart controller.
Yes.
They're no longer doing that. You can't buy that as an option right now. It's not available anywhere.
That controller is no longer being made, correct, Bill?
Right. So I think that's a big clue. It's coming down the road. Okay. I would say just hold on. It's going to happen sooner rather than later. I mean, they wanted to go ahead and you got to think in terms of, for DJI, they wanted their flagship to be able to use that new DJI RC first. So the Mavic 3 gets that update, okay? The Air 2S, it's going to come, guys. I would say just have some patience. Probably a month or so. It will get here.
Thanks for that question.
Did you see what US Drone Flyer was saying? What was it? His app crashed when he was below 20%, and it freaking just started landing somewhere. That sucks.
Is this the one? Yeah.
That would really suck. So if your app crashes below 20%, it's going to automatically land.
Push that stick up.
Yeah. That would suck totally.
Yeah, and did he? Well, I mean, he probably did, but make sure that Marcus pointed this out previously. Make sure you hit the return to home button on the actual RC and not on the screen. At some point, I mean, his app crashed, he couldn't do it. He probably didn't have the option for the screen anymore. But if you sense any trouble at all, but maybe before the app crashes all the way, sometimes it goes, sometimes it acts wonky. Hit that physical return to home button.
Yeah, well, you know what? I wish that DJI would give us the option to adjust that auto land part of it, so that 20% is ridiculous. I totally agree. You should be able to adjust it down to maybe 10% or even more than that.
Or just give you the telemetry. Remember how you get some little drones that still give you the telemetry how far away you are. So if you're pushing the stick forward and pushing the stick up, right? and it starts increasing the distance, you know you're flying away from yourself, and all you have to do is, do a 180 and fly back toward yourself. Just fly with telemetry. It would be awesome, because then you know you're getting closer to yourself and not far away
You know
from
what you're
you.
saying now, that little built-in screen on like the Mavic Pro controller.
Yeah, exactly. Like, remember the Mavic 2.
Hey,
Yeah.
so Al, talking about good old Hubsan drones,
Yeah,
let me tell you, there is many times I've brought a Hubsan drone to your home doing exactly what you're saying.
yeah, because remember how scary those things were when they got a little wonky?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't trust it, so I'm just going to follow the telemetry.
Well, they were known for bad OTG cables, and it would just disconnect. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
it would just disconnect, so you could at least get the telemetry out of it, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wish they would do something like that. So at least you get a little telemetry, know that you're dropping in altitude and you're flying away from yourself,
Yeah, Al, I had a similar experience with the Altel with the Evo 2 Pro a couple months back. My app crashed because I was trying to do a panel and I was trying to stitch them. So my app crashed, but the drone had already gone into that under 20% or whatever on the Altel, and I was trying to land, and I had my head down. So even though it was in line of sight, I still didn't know where it was because I took my eye off it for a second. So I used the data on the little LCD screen to bring it to hold up so it would land and fly it back in my direction, whatever. And I knew it because the distance numbers were counting downwards, so I knew it was coming back towards me.
Well, and you gotta love it that you have another option to be able to fly back, because if you're flying airplanes like the one you see back here, I mean, the telemetry on my controller helps me so much because the orientation, nothing moves about 80 miles an hour. So if I'm making mistakes, it's a quick mistake. And so I can get out of range really fast, really quick. And the telemetry, just looking at my telemetry helps me so much. So anyway, that was my 2 cents worth on that controller locking up. I wish they would give you that telemetry. If it locks up, just give me the telemetry so I can get home.
See, that's one thing that I wish DJI would have done and would have continued to do with the original Mavic Pro. It had all the telemetry on the controller. I had one instance where I was out there with my iPad and it overheated, and I lost my FPV view. But you know what I still had? I still had all my telemetry data on my Mavic Pro controller. And I knew, and I could, of course, I was still maintaining a line of sight. I didn't lose sight of it, and it was coming back. But still, I knew the distance, I knew the height, I knew the speed, I had all the information.
And not only that, that controller, it gives you the pitch of your camera too. So if you really are used to, moving that camera around to a certain pitch, like 30%, 60%, you knew where you could still keep your shot in frame if you needed to and fly back home.
Oh, yeah.
And talk about toy drones, man. I got this funky one here, man. A bicopter. Little toy bicopter.
Oh, you mean like that? What's it? The V-copter?
Yeah, it's a little V-copter, man. And this thing here, you got to be really careful. It's a Wi-Fi little sucker, man. You talk about it. I lost signal, and I literally started walking really fast toward it, and then I turned left, and I saw it turn right. So I go, okay, so it's flying toward me. Okay, good. So now I just knew how to get it back, But I didn't have any telemetry to fly back, but it was just all line of sight flying back in. But yeah, I almost lost this super thing on the second flight.
Well, we're glad you got it back.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a challenge.
Okay, well, let's see. We knocked off 1.5 here on the story list here. Our good friend of the show, Greg Pittman, contacted me the other day, and he was telling me about the new firmware for the RC, which we just talked about. But he also let me know that the sound issue has been fixed. When we first got the drone, you were able to plug a USB microphone or a earbuds into the port beside the memory card slot under the little hatch. But then that was removed after another firmware update. But he tested this weekend, and the sound is back. Now you can record audio with that additional USB-C port on the bottom of the RC Pro. So that's good for a lot of YouTubers and whatever that want to record their audio all in one place and not on a second a second recorder or whatever. So thanks, Greg, for sending that story into us.
So what is to the panel question? What screen recorders do you all prefer to use if you don't have the smart controller? Let's say you're flying the Mini 2 or something.
That is really easy for me. Apple in iOS builds a fantastic native screen recorder into their operating system.
Yeah,
Samsung has an excellent one on theirs, and then if it's not available, AZ screen recorder that works flawlessly. And that one has no ads, nothing, and it does exactly what it's supposed to do. And there's a bright orange dot, so it's going. So,
how about you, Mark?
Yeah, I'm an iPhone user, so I just use Apple's built-in screen recording too. If you're in the Apple world, there's no reason to have a third-party screen recorder, as Mark just said.
Can I answer for DeMarco? So what DeMarco does is he has his son Maddox hold the GoPro over his RC. Just kidding, you pal. Just kidding.
I know. No,
Hey,
I haven't flown.
Trade secrets now, Marcus. Come on.
No, I was going to say I haven't flown with my phone in over 2 years. Yeah, I mean, smart controller, then RC Pro, and now the RC. So yeah.
Smart man. Smart man.
I gave up.
Whatever you do, one of the things that I recommend to any beginners, get a screen recorder and start recording when you fly, because if anything happens, you have data, where it happened, where it is, and you have the last GPS coordinates come up.
Okay, so we're Ron and I were just bragging about iOS, but let me tell you what that screen recorder does with iOS is it tends to contribute to heating up your phone and dimming that screen. So it isn't perfect.
Yeah, and it definitely eats up a lot of, if you don't have a really nice, large memory on the iPhone, you're going to be screwed pretty fast too.
Well, I'm going to say
you want to keep deleting those screen recordings.
You got to do your housekeeping pretty often. Yeah.
I'm going to go out and make a prediction here. Within 2 years, I'll say for sure, DJI will not. All your controllers will be some type of smart controller, DJI RC, DJI RC Pro. You're not going to need a phone anymore. And I think others are going to follow suit. Like Autel will follow suit, and you'll start to see your Hubsons. Well, you see Fimi here. Okay.
Yeah, I agree, because the price of the displays have dropped dramatically, right? So now everybody's making a display that's pretty easy to integrate.
I have to say this about two of my things about the DJI RC that I wish were better. One, I wish it would have a built-in microphone just like the RC Pro, but that's neither here nor there. And I've solved that problem with my workflow. But the other thing with that is, okay, it has its limited memory capabilities. Okay, like with the DJI RC Pro. If you want to do a screen recording, you don't have to have an SD card in there. With the DJI RC, you have to have it. There's a lot of things in there. Plus, the DJI RC Pro has a much better processor in it than the DJI RC, because in a lot of probably the issues that got addressed, you're trying to process a lot with processors that aren't designed to handle it. And I think that's what this firmware update did that Marcus and Ron had been referring to, where people's screens were freezing up and everything, because it's trying to do a lot at once, and it probably had a log jam, and they needed to do a firmware update to address that. Whereas with the DJI RC Pro, I've never had any issues with that whatsoever in terms of screen freezing, anything like that. I think they did a great job on that. I like the memory capabilities on that. I like the processor on that. Plus, I think the range is better with the DJI RC Pro. Don't quote me on that, but I really think it's better.
Yeah. The other point is that if the manufacturers are building their own RC with their own FPV screen and their own display, they then can control the software, the app that it uses, and everything better. In other words, they don't have to build that app to be compatible with 100 different phones or whatever. They can custom, kind of like Apple does, quite frankly. They can custom build it for their own product. I want to say my cousin Dre was brought up a good point about the at Recovery Drone, brought up the good point about the smart controller, and I remember that as well. That using the screen recorder on the smart controller, I remember it used to cause lag. So it's a good
big
point.
time. So yeah, it has the same effect on some of the smart controllers as it does your phone, and even on the DJI RC. Before this firmware came out, fixed a lot of issues. A lot of people suspected that doing the screen recording could have led to some of the problems there with crashing stuff. To who knows?
Yeah, but I know that's what I thought too, Ron. But I'm telling you, they cured it with whatever this last update was. It just I was still expecting this or that, but man, it was butter smooth.
You know what I think they did was they lowered the resolution of recording. So check the difference to see if they're doing 720 instead of 1080.
It was
hey, Marky, did you see Charles's comment in the screen here? He says supposedly if you set the controller to recharge your iPhone while flying, it won't dim on you.
Charles, I will give that a try. Thank you for that tip.
Great tip,
hey,
Charles.
Hey, no company is perfect, but they found a problem and fixed it, and hopefully we can move on from it. Whereas some companies do not.
With all the money they have, they should.
Oh yeah, they had better.
You know what I mean? They have tons of research money, tons of development.
They had better fix it.
Hey, so Sean had a good question too, and he in his next comment, Ron, he's asking about how do you do that on an iPhone, and I don't know. Can you just change the settings in the cache? So he's talking about saving that lesser, like a 1080p. Video and automatically saving it.
In the Fly app, even on iPhone, you could change the size of the cache, how long you want before it. But
it's within the Fly app. So I think what Sean is saying is that it automatically downloads it to the camera roll or something.
On the iPhone, you can set your recordings to automatically go to the Photos app, but I don't think they're the cache ones. I think they're the good ones.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I misunderstood.
Yeah. Well, I'm not completely understanding his question either, so I don't know if we're giving him the
I'm misunderstood too. So yeah.
Okay, listen. We have a couple topics we haven't touched on here in the chat. Topic number 3 was our good friend Dono had a video last week where he showed some FPV goggles that he called the ORQA, ORQA, that he used with the Mavic 3. He used the HDMI in or out port to plug them into, and he seemed pretty happy with the results flying the Mavic 3 around with these goggles. And they sell for $571. So they're not cheap, but I guess there's more expensive ones out there. Did anybody else happen to watch the video?
Not being a goggle guy, I didn't.
Yeah, you don't watch the goggle videos. I usually don't watch it, but I just thought it was interesting that it was kind of an option. And of course, that did allow him to get in and fly closer to things with the Mavic 3 and get some cool shots. So just something for the the goggle people, the FPV people there. I have no idea. I think they're probably designed to work with FPV drones, of course, too. And story number 4 here is a story we kind of cover a lot on and off. DJI ran a story last week hinting that DJI is making headway against the U.S. drone blacklist registration by a lot of components of the government. So that's kind of interesting news, guys. We usually don't. It's always usually negative on this stuff. So, Bill, did you happen to see that article?
No, but I did hear about that, and I did read a little bit on that, and I don't know what to say. I mean, it's anytime you have dealings with the government, you never know what to expect. Okay, and that's just that's just kind of my take on it. But maybe it's good. You know, I don't know. I don't know.
And you know, I'm sure it's, you know, they're, you know, they have lobbyists like everybody else, and I guess they think their lobbyists are starting to make headway with some congressmen and senators whose ears could be bent down there. But anyhow, it's just, you know, I don't know.
Ears or maybe palms.
Yeah. I don't know how much to say about it, but just interesting.
I was going to say back channels.
Yeah, back channels. It's almost all negative. This is the first time you ever heard that maybe they're making a little headway in this. So, you know, just something to keep an eye on. I mean, we all fear that we won't be able to buy DJI drones. We said this almost over 2 years ago now, and we're still buying every release coming out now. So, we'll see. You know, we'll see. And story number 7. It's been a couple of videos released recently, and even article where you know, YouTubers are trying to advise people on whether they should get the, you know, the Air 2S or the Mini 3 Pro. Since Marcus and I discussed this kind of today, they're kind of in price wise, depending on what you get with the drone, because, you know, you could get the Air 2S firmware kit as low as $1039 over the what do you call the Amazon
Prime?
So they're really kind of in the same price bucket. So at this point, you're really not picking on price so much as you are, you know, features and things like 250 grams and so on. So I'll go around the panel and we'll take a little, you know, survey of our own, what our say, you know, our panel would recommend. If you had to say a friend came up to you and they had no drone at all, whatever, or they have some kind of little toy drone and they asked you this question, you know, Marcus, you want to take the first stab at it?
Yeah, and you know, I cheated because Ron and I discussed this earlier today, and it's not as cut and dried of a question as you might think it is. So my gut feeling was to automatically say, well, the Air 2S, right? Because it's a bigger drone, more powerful, as long as you don't need sub 250 gram. And in the US, nobody really does. Pay your $5. It's a little different in Canada or Europe, etc. But in the US, doesn't really matter. So I'm saying the Air 2S, but it's not that cut and dried. Ron pointed out to me, you got better flight time with the Mini 3, battery life, and the Air 2S doesn't even live up to
much better flight time, not just
much better flight time, all darn near double. With the Mini, you get that portrait style vertical video if you want it. So it's not, like I said, it's not as cut and dry. Now with the Air 2S, obviously it's more powerful. It's going to handle wind better. It's faster. It'll shoot in 5.4K or whatever. So there's pluses and minuses depending on what you need. For me, for sure, it would be the Air 2S. But I would also understand if you're interested in battery life or something else, you may choose the Mini 3. Al, how about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I think the best value drone in the world is the Air 2S, to be honest with you, because it has all those capabilities in flight. The flight time is not the same, but the camera is superb, and all the other accessories you can purchase to it. Yes, the 250 gram limit is a problem outside the U.S., but within the U.S., for a beginner, $1,200, you get into a really superb drone that you can live with for a long time. And we obviously see it being used, but so many travel channels, right? Those people that have 1.6 million subscribers. If you guys ever watch Itchy Boots, this lady takes her motorcycle and rides from Peru all the way to Alaska. I mean, incredible drone footage from her, and that's what she carries. So yeah, Air 2S is what I would recommend and what I would take. If I only had to take one drone, that would be it.
Bill?
Oh, okay. Air 2S. And one of the big reasons I say Air 2S, you know, when you're looking at it, and if you're a new drone person, okay, new drone persons don't know about things like wind speed and, you know, how a drone will handle. And I'm almost always going to, you know, if price is equal and on equal footing and everything, no question the Air 2S. if you're an experienced drone flyer, the Mini 3 Pro is a great drone. I love mine. I absolutely love mine. But you got to remember, a lot of us, and a great deal of us, live in a northern climate where there's a lot of wind. I live near the coast in Florida. We have a lot of wind down here. So if you're in one of those kind of environments, don't even think twice. Air 2S, and you're gonna get exceptional footage from that. I mean, the only drone that's better that DJI has in the consumer space is a Mavic 3. Okay, and you're paying about half the price of a Mavic 3. And this drone has obstacle avoidance. It does so many things well. I know the Mini 3 has a greater flight time, and that's a good thing. But you have to remember here, okay, this Air 2S, it's tried and true. 100%.
Bill, clearly you're not on TikTok.
No.
I forgot to mention too, it's much easier to catch and launch from your hand. So if you're in a location that you can't put it down or you can't let it hit the ground, the Air 2S is much easier to catch too. It's just bigger.
DeMarco.
I own both. I've only flown one so far. Still. I mean, all things being equal, I would recommend the Mini 3 to someone. Now, if someone said, I need this, I fly in bad weather, blah, 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 blah. Okay. If they needed the Air 2S, I would say get that. But for someone who's got $1,200 or $1,000, whatever it is, just starting out, I would recommend the Mini 3 Pro. That said, both of them are great, which we all know, and most of the chat knows too. So you'll be fine with it. So, but the Mini 3 Pro for me, mainly because of the flight time and the controller.
Thank you.
Drop the mic.
Marcus spoke a little bit for me as
I didn't catch it.
as we spoke before the show here, and I'll go right to what Bill said. If flying in high winds or whatever is your number one concern, it's the Air 2S, hands down. It's like you said, it's that and the Mavic 3 are the top two drones I've flown in the wind, and nobody's even close to those two drones. But as we mentioned, you get double the battery life almost on the if you're using extended life batteries on the Mini 3. Of course, at that point, Marcus, that makes you a non-250 gram drone. So that takes one of the big pluses. The 250 grams gets taken away by that long flight time. You have to use the standard battery, which still gets you more time,
30-some minutes,
yeah, but not much more. Right. And of course, the vertical video. If somebody joked, if social media, TikTok, Reels on Instagram, all that stuff, if that's your forte that you're trying to get into, the Mini 3 is the perfect drone. And of course, even if 250 grams is not your concern, it's still lighter, so it's easier to carry. The other drone's not heavy either, but it's twice the weight of the Mini 3. So it's a tough call. It really is. I mean, but here's the good news. No matter which one you pick, you're going to do good. And one thing nobody mentioned is if low light photography is your main concern. Now I know the Air 2S has a slightly bigger sensor. The 1-inch sensor is slightly bigger than the 1/1/3. But if you put the box aside the other one, it's not that much bigger. And the much wider aperture on the Mini 3, the 1.7 aperture, is probably going to let more light in, combined with the sensor size, the 2.8 on the Air 2S. So forget all the technical stuff. I think if low light is your main concern, one of your top concerns, probably the Mini 3 there. So yeah. So again, sorry, I don't know if I didn't give you a very conclusive answer, but some of the other panels did.
No, it was good, Ron.
So we're rounding it. We got about 5-6 minutes to go. If anybody would like to bring up another topic or a new topic that we, maybe a topic we did that they want to say a little bit more about, this is a time to jump up, Al. And Al, also before we leave, while you're bringing up that topic, would you also, would you give us maybe a little preview of what you got coming up this week on your show or your live shows, and give us the time and everything, and then we're going to let Bill give the times and stuff on his new show too.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, our mystery guest is Ron Brown. He's going to be at 7 o'clock Thursday night. So join us on Thursday night on the Duranify channel. Ron's going to be our guest, and there's another mystery guest going to be joining us too. So drop by, and we're going to be discussing probably what other new topics are out there. Like, I don't know, we'll figure it out. But the topics are going to be mostly DJI and Fimi also. So,
And what time? What time again, Al?
7 o'clock East Coast time, guys, on the Duranify channel. Thanks, brother.
Thank you. And it was another topic you'd like to expound on at all, or?
No, I'm just working on FPV builds lately, and haven't really been producing much on YouTube and that FPV stuff. I'm just like immersed in FPV flying. And
You're between videos at this time.
Yes.
Yeah. Bill, what do you got coming up this week on your show?
We're going to talk more.
Oh, and Bill, before Bill gets into it, I want everybody out in the chat to wish Bill a happy birthday. What day was your birthday? Sunday?
It was on Saturday.
Saturday.
Happy
And
birthday.
you know what, Ron? My birthday was so special that years ago, these four gentlemen from Liverpool did a song about it. It was so special because I turned 64.
Oh, wow.
You remember those four lads from Liverpool, don't you? Okay.
You remember the album that came out on too?
Oh, yeah, I sure do.
It's a little known album. It's not a very famous album.
It had some conspiracy theories behind the album cover too. that was like the first time I ever heard conspiracy theories on the album cover. It was just so funny.
And the first all-out nonstop psychedelic album of all time, really.
Yeah, it was. But we had a great day, and I want to thank everybody for their birthday wishes. My wife took me to a restaurant. It's called Spinners. It's the only revolving rooftop restaurant in the state of Florida. Overlooks St. Pete Beach and the Gulf of Mexico. Wow. It was wonderful. They were taken over by new ownership since the pandemic. Food was outstanding. It was relaxing. It was like 2.5 hours, and it was just incredible. Although on the way home, we had to go over the Skyway Bridge, and it was about 40 miles an hour. And if it gets another 5 miles an hour, they shut the bridge down. And it was torrential rain. It was one of those Florida torrential rains, wipers on fast, and it's not even doing a thing. So, yeah, that was a lot of fun on the way home. But for the show, for tomorrow night, okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about the Fimi. And I gonna talk about what I want to talk about. We'll touch on some of the subjects we talked about tonight. But one of the other things that I wanted to show, you watch the video, we're going to talk about a segment of the video tomorrow night on this, and also this catch and release mechanism, because I'm going to be using that on a new channel that's coming up, and I'm wearing, you can see right here, Ham Radio Basics. That's going to be my new ham radio channel. Probably going to be starting in about another month. And what I'm planning on doing using the catch and release mechanism is to get an antenna up in a tree and then dropping it, and then it has a weighted bag on the end of it, and I can pull it down. And it's real easy because guys use slingshots. I've seen all kind of methods like this, but I saw a guy with a Phantom 3, and he had like a release mechanism he bought off of Amazon for $25, and he did the same thing. And I figured, you know what, this drone is gonna be well worth its weight in gold for me by being able to do something like that. So I'm
going to be a tax write-off for your new channel.
Absolutely. And I'm also going to talk about slow motion because I took some slow motion videos, and I got them coming up with a Mini 3 and with a Mavic 3. So stay tuned for all that. We're going to spend some time talking about that tomorrow night.
Hey, Bill, our friend Bill Grace in the chat, he has a question, and maybe I'll aim it at you, Bill. Will a DJI prosumer, he says consumer, I think, prosumer drone ever have a mechanical shutter for mapping again? Now, we famously know that the DJI Phantom 4 Pro, well, all versions of the Pro had the mechanical shutter, but he's asking, will we ever see another mechanical on a consumer drone?
On a consumer drone, probably not. Okay, right. You're going to have to get an RTK. One of the other things that I wanted to say was, I'm hearing rumors of a DJI Mavic 3S coming out in January. Okay, and
January.
here's a real kicker with this. It's going to have an enhanced smart controller. That's what I've heard. So
like the one we saw for the Enterprise DJI drones, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know the S. I'm thinking like Air 2S kind of thing. I don't know, but wow, yeah, that's.
So sorry, will that be an affordable drone?
I'm thinking it's going to be a pricey drone. It's going to be a very pricey drone. I'm also thinking a lot of people who have a DJI RC Pro are not going to be real happy.
Marcus has to go. His sandwich has arrived.
Yeah, and the U.S. women national team are playing for the championship, CONCACAF championship right now. They're playing Canada.
Oh.
So just a side note.
Maybe Marcus can make. DeMarco can make a prediction.
We'll let
him off the hook. His specialty is the football games.
I got research first. Research.
Yeah, he research man. Yeah. A lot of people are telling Bill Grace that the Phantom 4 V2 is still the one to get for that mechanical shutter. You concur with that, Bill?
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I mean, it's still a fantastic drone, and it does a great job. But you better buy it soon. And here's one thing: if you're buying a Phantom 4 Pro V2.0, do yourself a big favor. Okay, don't get the aftermarket batteries. Get the original OEMs. You can still find them, but get them now. Okay, because I'll tell you what, I know a lot of Phantom 3 and Phantom 2 owners who wish they had bought more batteries back in the day, who decided to keep their drones a long time. Okay, so if you're going to keep this a long time, buy yourself a good supply of your batteries and follow proper battery maintenance, because once they're gone, they're gone.
And that is the best drone for catching, by the way, on boats. You got two handles you can just grab.
Yeah.
Because as your boat is going up and down with the waves, and that thing is, you're trying to get it back on close enough to grab it. That is so handy. It's almost, on the little mini, it would be impossible to do it.
True.
Unless you wear gloves, get one of those shark gloves or fishing gloves, those metal things. Then you just freaking grab it before you lose it.
True. Okay, I think we've got everything covered here. DeMarco, do you have anything to close out with tonight?
Nope, that should be it. Good combo, boys, as usual.
Yeah, we really got them stirred up tonight with a Fimi, but that's good. It's good to make sure everybody's awake out there, right, DeMarco? Make sure they're not sleeping, get them fired up. Now we know when they ever get a little passe out there, we just bring the Fimi up and we'll get them all fired up out in the chat and let Al start talking about open source. That got him.
Oh, geez, that's really fired up.
Remember in the old days,
over me on that one. Yeah.
Remember in the old days, people liked the open source. Now open source is frowned upon, Al.
I don't get it, but you know what? It is what it is. It's fun. Thanks for having me, Ron. I appreciate it.
It was great to have you back, Al. And we got to get you back more often. You did a great job sitting in the special guest host seat tonight. That's an honored seat. I think our good friend Johnny Drone Flyer, first took that seat. So you're following in Johnny's footsteps, and he's a big man in the community. He's on almost as many shows as we are, Al.
He is.
And Al, I want to pass on something too. Al, I think you and Jenna do a great job on your show. I caught it the other week, and you guys really do a good job. So hats off to you, and more people should watch your show because you do a great job. You really do.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thanks for all you do in the community, Al. Al also is at all the drone meetups, and he's always such a smiling face and positive influence at our meetups, and a great sort of information. Not only can he hang with the camera guys, but he can go over with the FPV guys and hang with them too. So he's one of the real go-between guys or whatever. That day we were at that little park at the beach in Florida, and you were flying those FPV drones around. You were even following what's his name? Max had the big plane going or whatever. That was some amazing stuff that day.
That whole weekend was amazing. I mean, obviously, the weekend in Texas was unbelievable too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the fellowship is amazing in the community, and that's one thing.
Mhm.
Right. And people think the FPV guys and camera guys don't get along, and that's not true at all.
No, not true at all.
The only problem is, with the FPV, the people that are running analog signals, we crush their signals when we turn on our DJI products.
Right.
And that's why you saw Maddie and the doc walk away, because we're crushing their signals.
Yeah. How in the FPV community, I know we're trying to understand here. How much is it? Is it 50-50 digital FPV and analog, or is the analog still a much bigger part of that space?
I think it's definitely DJI's. Once you get used to the digital signal from DJI, it's hard to go back, Ron. It really is, because it's just so crystal clear, and the lag is a little problematic if you're a racer. But if you're not a racer and just freestyling, it's really, really hard to go back. The friends that I fly here weekly with, were all into fat charts, Dominators, $500, goggles, and now they literally haven't touched those in about a year. And I'm basically the same way. And I was just visiting my friend, and he just gave me a Nebula drone and said, "Here, I don't fly this. Give it away in your channel." I'm like, okay. So
cool.
So yeah, maybe we'll give away that little Nebula. Forget what model it is on the channel this Thursday. Let's do that.
Let's do it. All right, guys, that's it. I want to thank everybody who joined us in chat tonight. Thanks for all your comments, your questions, your support, and go over there tomorrow night. You guys go over there and support Bill tomorrow night at 8, and go support Al at 7 on Thursday night.
That's right. Thank you.
Good night, everyone, and we'll see you next week.